Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links can be found in the description for everything we discuss, so let's get on with it. So this week we have the usual 210 for the writers and around the verse, plus we get the update of where the FPS module is at. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to all patrons, as you are really helping make these Star Citizen Sunday videos possible. If you are interested in becoming a patron, head over to our Patreon page using the link in the description. Thank you. Also, a quick shout out and thank you to Vengeful, who has become our latest patron. Thank you very much for your support, mate. Okay, so this week's 10-4 was 10-4 the writers. It also included Sherry, who is putting together the Galactopedia, so we have a few questions on that as well. First question being, with the Galactopedia's similarity to the Wikipedia, how much user-generated content will be allowed and how much will be curated? And they say that they want to use a lot of user-generated content and you can submit articles for approval. She says that the game will be so huge that they can't do it all alone, they need our help. And she did mention that she wants to see more artwork for Corthal's Last Stand and images of the Orion colony before the Vandal attack. So any arty people out there, get your pictures submitted in. Next question is, when writing dialogues, how do you deal with the possibility that in 2945 the human language will likely have changed quite considerably? And they say it's obviously difficult because 930 years in the past we spoke completely different to what we do now, but the game still needs to be understood by everyone in this day and age. So when writing, people need to understand there are little subtle things like creds instead of dollars, and also Cathcart dialogue is actually quite distinct to any other place we know of. So you will be able to hear different aspects of language, maybe some sort of slang words that they use. But don't forget the aliens, the Jan, the Banu, even the Vandal will have their own actual language that can be learnt and spoken, which is awesome stuff. Next question. What would determine a player to be entered into the Galactopedia? Would it be, for instance, discovering an animal, a planet, or a jump point? Or maybe someone who kills a famous pirate, for instance? And they say it's quite a complex question, and determining it is quite fuzzy at the moment, but they did say that if you discover a planet, jump point, or animal, then yes, you most likely will be put into the Galactopedia. But the killing of a pirate, it would be determined by how famous the pirate is, how many systems they've raided or people they've attacked. But there will be many unique ways to be seen in the Galactopedia, so let's hear your thoughts. So next question is, does the UEE have a system or area to carry out its testing, similar to Area 51, where it's maybe a restricted area, or will it be open to the public? And obviously, can you share a name? They say there is, but they do have lots of systems and areas dedicated to the UEE. Some are known, some are not known, and some of them you will not be welcome. There is a moon of the Odin system called Vili, which is a known testing ground for experimental weaponry by Bering. It is apparently the verse's worst kept secret, and you can land, but you can't really go far. So there was an article about this posted. I'll see if I can find it, but there's going to be plenty to discover and plenty that you're not allowed to discover, which whether or not you can sneak down, I don't know. I would have thought so. Let's hope so anyway. So moving on to the next question. How will the Galactopedia be updated over time? And she explains that the game will have a behind the scenes record, which will obviously record everything that happens. It won't immediately update it to the Galactopedia though, and it's for when you make a discovery, they don't want it to just suddenly give it all away. So if you discover a jump point, it's up to you whether you want to report it or not. Maybe you can use it for your org or for yourself to use it as a benefit for trading, or maybe if you discover a system, you can use it to mine or to gather resources on your own without anyone else interrupting you. But obviously you can if you want to, and if as soon as you reveal it to everyone else, then it will be known and it will be in the Galactopedia, and it'll also be shown that you are the one that's discovered it and whatever you have decided to name it as well. They did say there'll be plenty of jump points out there up for grabs, which will maybe make traversing from one system to the next a lot quicker than having to go around or avoiding certain dangerous routes. But also NPC discoveries will be revealed, so if an NPC has suddenly discovered a jump point, then the chances are it'll most likely just be revealed. I don't know if the NPCs will decide to keep it secret. I can't understand why, because, well, I don't know, we will see. So the next question is, with the introduction of the medical class ship, has CIG considered creating law for non-interference of medical services in times of war, similar to the Geneva Convention Act of the Medical Neutrality Protection? And they actually say that they've had plenty of questions to this, and I did see a question a while ago about this, which I think it went unanswered. But they say it makes sense to have a treaty that the UEE has implemented, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people will always follow it. The Vandal, for instance, most likely won't agree to this treaty. Lawless systems, they say, may not care as well. And in my opinion, I think there should be a much bigger consequence for maybe killing someone while they've ejected, or, yeah, killing medical personnel while they're trying to heal everyone on the battlefield. So the way I see it is maybe the law will actually implement more of a bounty on someone who has, or a higher paid bounty on someone who has caused an atrocity of war, maybe. They say it won't likely be a game rule, but more of a moral compass. So sort of who you are, what do you believe in though? So will you go off and kill someone when they are a medical personnel who are obviously not firing back? It's up to you. But yeah, tell me your thoughts. Are you going to kill a medical person? Not in real life, please. Let's not go that way, but let me know your thoughts. So the last question I picked out was, how large will the Galactopedia be at launch? And Cherie says that it's big, it's huge, and large. They say they're sitting down with Turbulent soon to come up with a plan of action on how to release it. Essentially, it can be as big as it needs to be, with it being published online, so it can be as big as we make it, or as they make it, and it'll obviously get bigger over time. Lore so far is massive. The amount of lore they have for Star Citizen is huge, so, I mean, check out the fan-made Wikipedia page. There is so much to it, so the Galactopedia will just be huge to start with, I reckon, but then grow many times over. Anyway, they did say that the Galactopedia will be the final word on Star Citizen lore, so when it ends up coming out with the Galactopedia, that is how it's going to be. Anyway, that was 10 for the writers. Tell me your thoughts on it all. So, as usual, we move on to Around the Verse. This is episode 52, and they started again with the Empire Report.
As the Senate campaign heats up, Tavaran candidate Suj Kosi from Elysium joins us for a candid conversation about his plans for the UEE if elected, and what he thinks his victory will mean for the future of all Tavaran.
Ship scanning. Where does the need for security end and our privacy begin? Donald Joseph talks to both sides of this hotly debated issue.
Argent Delm, if you have teenagers, you've probably been hearing that expression a lot recently. But what does it mean? We'll take a look at Helix, the tradable game that's sweeping the Empire's youth. All that and more on the next Empire Report at 2200 SET.
Something mentioned in the Empire Report was that Helix tradable game. Now, I don't know, it sounds like we may be able to play this. Who knows? It is interesting when they implement games into games. I suppose Arena Commander will be a game in a game, but be interesting to see where they go with that. Anyway, Sandy and Ben, as usual, talking about the small patch for small flare items which we had over the last week. They also mentioned that 1.1.5 is coming soon. It is a bigger, about 40 gig patch apparently, with many new features. Not Star Marine, that is not included, but it has a lot of long-awaited features that they can implement. Also, the performance capture shoot has finished and Chris Roberts will be back soon. It's good to have him back on board. And also, Frankfurt offices have moved to new offices and they will be showing us soon. So, news from around the verse, starting with CIG in Santa Monica. They say they are polishing Arena Commander from the community feedback they got while the designers were online, speaking to the community. They're also working on the Merlin and Scythe. Hopefully that will be ready with 1.1.5. I wouldn't put any money on it, but it sounds like it might be. Anyway, on to Ilphonic. They say the energy sniper rifle is adding a charge shot, so if you hold the fire button you can release more energy, more likely giving a one-hit kill, whereas a quick shot will only do a little damage, which is something we see in a lot of weapons these days in the sort of futuristic type games. Also, as we know, practice mode has been added to Star Marine. This is to test out your weapons, the environment, all the gadgets, the animations, with no pressure of people attacking you perhaps, or maybe it's an all free-for-all, I don't know. They say it's like Arena Commander's free flight, so it might just be on your own or maybe with your friends, which is ideal, and apparently it was a big community requested mode, which I'm glad they did. They're also investigating ways to indicate where damage is coming from. Obviously in traditional games like Battlefield, you have these little indicators that tell you which direction the fire is coming from, but if you're not wearing a helmet in Star Citizen, the indicators won't make sense because they want it to be realistic. So they're having to figure out what to do there. When you have dealt damage as well, the indicators of how we will know, and so far they've got things like blood splats and sparks from armor, which does sound very good, but it's like the difference between Call of Duty and armor. Obviously Call of Duty has a known sound and a little vibration, I think, isn't it, when you get a hit on, whereas armor you'll have no idea, you're firing at nothing, so there's got to be something to indicate what's happening, which is cool, and I like the idea of the blood splats and sparks. So, CIG in Austin, Texas, they say they're testing the generic instance manager. Also, they're working on an asteroid field tool where they can create asteroid fields much quickly and more efficiently. They're working on a blueprint document for the next Stanton landing zone, and so far they're going between Hurston, Crusader and Microtech. One One, they say, will be a cloud city environment high up in the sky. The other one will be a refinery world's sort of fiery, dark and sweaty environment. And the other one, on the last one, will be a cold, snow-like planet, which I really like the sound of. They did say, what do you prefer to see the most, which may be the one that they do first. Personally, I like the idea of a snow planet. I would love for Star Citizen to implement something along the lines of The Thing, where you've got to fly down to deliver supplies to maybe a barren sort of snow base, and then you get there and everything is just desolate and there's bodies everywhere, or maybe they've all disappeared. That to me sounds like a really cool game mode. Anyway, on to Foundry 42 in the UK. They're talking about props, and they want to bring the quality of all the props on the levels up to the level of the other studios. They're also talking a little bit about the process of how they make props. If you're interested, check out the link. And also, they're there to sort of populate and bring environments to life. So hopefully they'll have something exciting to show us soon. Fingers crossed. So after that, it was Shipshape with Lisa Ohanian, and she was talking about components. Now, there's obviously things like power plants, coolers, weapons, shield generators, ammo boxes, ballasts, radars. There are so many components that you can customize your ship with, each having their own different effect, and will affect your ship in different ways and how it performs, also determining to the role that you want to play. So far, they have 9 types, like I've listed there. We have 3 concepts to show. There's some images, and they look fantastic. They're trying to get the general shape language, so it's easy to recognize what each component is. So if you are targeting someone, or a particular ship, you need to be able to distinguish what the power plant is or what the shield generator is in order to take that out independently of just firing the crap out of the ship. Now, the sizes they're showing us here are the small sizes. There are 4 different classes. You've got small, medium, heavy, and then capital class. Small being your single fighter sort of Hornets, medium being your Constellations, heavy being more like the Starfarer, and then capital the Idris and up. They did say that Hornets will actually be able to have multiple light power plants, so you can have more than one depending on how much power you need and what specific power you need, which is very cool, and they say it will add to greater customization. Very exciting stuff, and I cannot wait to be able to start buying components for my ship. Tell me your thoughts on that one. I'm very excited. James Pugh was interviewing Adam Weiser, who is the associate writer. He is a law-related writer, and he's writing the news updates, the dispatches that we see, Squadron 42 NPC dialogues, defining the systems, and also ship weapons and manufacturers as well. Interesting interview. I think there'll be a separate interview maybe next week of the full interview of him, but please check out Around the Verses link if you want to see any more on him. After that, we went to Alexis with Subscribers Con, who is speaking to Behaviour, and we have a couple of questions for them. The first question being in regards to personal lockers, which was mentioned in the monthly report that they are working on, which is where players can store weapons, gear and gadgets. Can they tell us more? And they say it's currently in the design phase for lockers. It'll obviously go hand in hand with the shopping experience and will be required as a place to store weapons, etc. that you purchase. They are deciding how big and where the lockers will be, plus they will need to be on the ships as well. They'll be determining how many weapons and what types it can hold, and also how you'll create loadouts using the lockers, so you can create different profiles for different loadouts. They're also working on the UI system for it as well, because it'll flow in hand with the wardrobes for clothing, and they may reuse the same systems that they use for the lockers for the wardrobes, so all quite important stuff to get fleshed out. Next question was, will we ever receive an artifact from an historical significant event in Star Citizen lore? For instance, maybe a broken laser pistol or a spaceman's helmet used in a UEE war. They say currently the new collection, the Puglisi or the Polisi collection, are artifacts from lore. So we've got a space rock so far of a broken moon, but they also do plan to have a usable item with gameplay values, but currently they are only for display. This month's flare is a Vandal armor plating. It is from a carrier ship that got found and then sold in scrap pieces, and Puglisi got hold of a piece and sold it as a replica for the collection. So they wanted to finish off by mentioning the 300 series is free to fly this week. You've got the 300, the 315, the 325 and the 350R. Get in there and give them a try out. They are very sleek, sort of the BMW of the ship series, quite exclusive. I do like them. They mentioned they're undergoing significant revisions in the future, so they need us to try them out and tell them our thoughts of them. They also mentioned they want all the ships to perform how they were announced in the past. So if you picked up a ship a while ago when they first released them, all the little blurbs and descriptions of them, they want them to be performing exactly as it says there, because that is what you picked them up for. Anyway, the sneak peek is a helmet. I think this is one for FPS rather than the Star Citizen Persistent Universe, but I'm sure we'll see it in there too, and it does look very cool. So that was it for Around the Verse. Tell me your thoughts. So, as promised by Chris Roberts, he said he will keep us up to date on a weekly basis with the FPS module, the Star Marine module, and how it's coming along. So the progress this week they have mentioned is the internal playtest of the new launcher was successful at patching itself 3 times faster than the older version, which is excellent, very important because we've got a 40 gig download coming up soon. Whether or not we'll be ready for that, I don't know. I really hope so because it will take forever. Also, the playtest was the first run of the generic instance manager. I'll try and get the details of what this all is. It is an older post which explains it all. I won't go into it now, but check the description for it. There's been a great effort to get the character locomotion animations resolved. They say the complete Duke start stop set for running has been completed, which is brilliant. The cover system is working. It needs a bit of tuning and some bug fixing, but when you get near to an object that can provide cover, you can go into cover mode and then either strafe or move out or even lean to fire away. I think it's quite similar to the Far Cry cover system. The prone animation, they say, has been improved, and also they've examined new concepts for weapon sight components, especially on the ATT-4 laser rifle. These are modular components which will be able to fit all weapons, and they want weapons to be as customizable as ships in the future of Star Citizen modules, so variety is priority, they say. They will pick one sight out of the 5 that has been shown for the standard loadout of the ATT, and they ask which do you prefer. There is a poll at the bottom of the page, so check the description for the FPS update post and then sign in and give them your thoughts. I went for the hollow one. I do like that. They've reintegrated the crosshair reticle into the HUD, which is something I'm not too happy about, but we'll get into it. They say it's not a traditional eyes front crosshair. It's more like a visible red dot aim system that points where your muzzle is pointing, so it doesn't mean that it's in the middle of the screen, so whenever you fire, your weapon will always fire in the middle of the screen. It was disabled before for animation problems, and a lot of the people using it were using hip fire rather than aiming down sights. But they have improved the weapon animation, and it should not be such an issue, and I really hope not, because I prefer the immersion, but we all know that. They have said that they will deal with the run and gun gameplay using a designer tunable method, but they'll also work from our feedback when we get hold of it, and make sure that it isn't just an easy run and gun Twitch play type game mode. So the visual effects and art team have done a performance pass on the Gold Horizon last week for optimization reasons. There is a short video on how it's looking, and it does look very, very cool. Obviously, if you're having a massive battle within a certain area of the Gold Horizon, or within any area of the Gold Horizon, chairs, tables, TV screens, sparks will fly. It'll just be mayhem, which looks fantastic. They say they've got code support to deploy gadgets and grenades. There's a new Proline grenade model by Bayring, which we are still yet to see. There's new HUD icons for weapons, grenades and gadgets, and that's implemented. Players also can now heal themselves or stop themselves from bleeding using a MedPen gadget. Sounds very cool. They've got UI hints mocked up for next week's playtest, and the free play practice mode is hooked up already. So the current blockers, they say, the melee is not working or animating properly. They say they don't want the same looking attack all the time. They want it to be quite a fluid last ditch attack, so it's not something you want to be able to do constantly. It's more like, shit, he's too close. There's also an ongoing recoil issue for weapons, and they say there's a number of locomotion animations needing to be cleaned up and integrated, and there was quite a few. A lot of them are the stop-start dukes for maybe being crouched, but they're getting through them week by week, so hopefully it won't take too long. They say they need to do some research and development into the hit reactions, as it's still a bit buggy, and also the ragdoll inconsistencies with how a player has died will need addressing. That is where they are with the FPS module. Again, they've made a lot of progress, but it's still not here. There's still no date. Very frustrating, but it is what it is. Tell me your thoughts on it. So also this week, James Pugh interviewed Randy Vasquez, who is the technical designer in Meet the Devs. We had an Empire Report post titled Arthur Vin Dead, where they remember a beloved actor from the verse, of course. The Osso system is the latest in the Galactic Guides. Excellent posts are Galactic Guides. I really recommend reading them, as they give a bit of an insight as to what we can expect to see in each system. I will be doing a travel series once the Galactopedia and the Star Map are released, which will tie in quite nicely to the sort of Mustang Bay to Travel TV style show I'll be doing when the PU goes live, so watch this space. As heard in Around the Verse, subscribers got their new flare item, which is the Vandal Armour. Check the link below to learn more. And finally, there was a post about the 300 series being available for free flight in Arena Commander. See what's available with the link in the description. Okay, so on a final note, we have affiliated with Razer, as we feel they make excellent gaming products, and if you want to help our channel out, plus buy amazing hardware, use the link in our description, and we'll get a little kickback every time a product is bought. So yet again, we have come to the end of the show. I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers and a massive thank you to all our patrons. You are truly helping our channel grow. If you are interested or able to help us out in way of a monthly donation from as little as $1 to any amount you deem fit, check out our Patreon page in the description. This really helps our channel to create more videos, better quality videos, and it allows us to get better hardware, better software, plus it allows us to spend more time on creating the videos. Don't forget to subscribe, comment if you have anything to say, show me the love by hitting the like button, and share it with all your friends and enemies. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you in next week's show.